Good afternoon, everyone. May I have your attention? We're going to start our program. Welcome to City Place, and if this is your first time in Oldham County or the city of LaGrange, welcome to our beautiful community. We're excited to be here today to celebrate the contribution of women in our military and our first responder services, and it's an exciting time to see growth in our community, our business community, as it continues to grow and thrive, and to see how this event has grown each year to where I don't think we can fit any more tables in this place. So thank you for being here. Thank you to our sponsors. I'm going to start our program here, but first I have quite a bit of thank yous to get through, and I'm going to try to be respectful of your time, but I also want to make sure that I give enough attention to the people who've contributed to make this event possible. I really want to thank our first responders and the Oldham County Police for providing our honor guard for, so thank you. You know, we have a lot of people to thank for their service that you'll hear throughout our program, and I specifically had a scenario that I wanted to thank an officer who pulled me over on 329 bypass and did not give me a ticket because my wife would have killed me if I got a ticket. So she saved a life that day, and we were really appreciative of that. This event is the hard work of our Celebration of Women Committee, and I would like to acknowledge right now Jane Ashley Page from the Oldham era, Amber Murphy from PNC Bank, and Julie Kuntz from Polished Image. So thank you for what you've done. Also, our lunch today is provided by Lady Fingers, and Donna Brown's around here. Where's Donna? Thank you. Lady Fingers has done this event for us for many years, and we can always count on. The food's always delicious, and they're so easy to work with, and so we thank her for that and for all the events that she does and supports us with. And also, she happens to be with our friends at the Prospect Chamber, so thank you, Donna, for all that you do. And your staff is fantastic, and the food's delicious. I also want to thank our sponsor for lunch today is Norton Brownsboro Hospital. Our panel sponsor is being sponsored by Forest Springs Health Campus. The desserts are provided by Magnolia Springs East. Our awards that you will be giving out later are sponsored by L&N Federal Credit Union. And our photographer, who's been around here also, Jamma Finney, is around here. There she is. Jamma, thank you. She has been doing a lot of things to help us with our chamber and get us some good quality pictures of this fantastic event. And also, before you leave, if you haven't got a photo, there's that photo booth in the back, and appreciate the help from our top investor, Nick Curcio, for all that he does. He's the greatest DJ in the world. So thanks, Nick. Also, our welcome sponsors, CareSource and Caldwell Banker McMahon, Hawk Design and Costco Wholesale for our thank you sponsorships, and the Perfection Group for our registration. We also have some elected officials in the audience here, including the Mayor of LaGrange, John Black, who's here, and our Deputy Judge Executive, Kevin Nuss, who will be coming up here shortly. Thank you. And if you're a magistrate or a city council person, or if you serve in an office here, would you just please stand up for a second so we can thank you for being here? And stay standing. I'd also like to ask any of our board members who happen to be here, or if you're a top investor in our chamber, if you could stand up so we can recognize you. It's our Chamber of Commerce has merged with Economic Development, which makes us a private partnership, private-public partnership, and we rely on our top investors and your membership dues and your investment in our chamber to make sure that we have a good balance of revenue so that we can make sure that we're representing this community from the business community side as well as the public safety side and public investment. So we want to thank all of you for contributing and helping us grow this thriving organization. In addition to that, I want to go back to Julie Kuntz from Polished Image. Julie is also, we have a lot of tablescape sponsors this year, and then we ended up selling a lot more tickets. So Julie came in from Polished Image, which is an event planning business, and she actually provided a lot of extra decorations for all the tables here. So wherever Julie is. And also I'd like to announce that Julie is growing her business, and she's currently working on moving her business into LaGrange on our Main Street. So thank you, Julie, for joining our growing business community. And last but not least, I also want to thank City Place for this beautiful facility that they have provided for us. It gives us an opportunity to put on programs and events and provide a comfortable space and a very nice space that really reflects well on our community. So thank you to City Place and Karen Greenwell. And with that, I want to go and introduce our title sponsor. The PNC Bank has been our title sponsor since the inception of this event, and in addition to winning some Tablescape awards and serving on the committee, they also have always been a longtime Chamber supporter, and I want to thank them for that. So at this point, I would like to bring up Amber Murphy from PNC Bank.
Thank you. If you're here last year, you know that I get really nervous speaking, so I thought I would start with a story. When I was in college, I worked at a movie theater as an assistant manager, and one summer night, there was a loud bang in the lobby of the theater. I thought it was a firecracker, but apparently, allegedly, a man in line had been carrying a gun, and it had fallen through his pocket, misfired. He'd shot himself through the calf. So I ran over to see if I could help. And somebody stopped me on the way and said, "Excuse me, ma'am, do you work here? Someone else has been shot." So the bullet apparently had ricocheted or went through this man's leg and shot this woman in the back of her thigh. She was a grandmother. Her family was already inside their theater. So I stayed with her until the EMS arrived, and she asked me if I would stay while they assessed the wound. So I did. Now, thankfully, she was not in critical condition, but I just can't imagine the strength that it would take to deal with these critical situations, much worse than this, over and over again, and to have to carry those memories with you. So on behalf of PNC, I'd like to thank our first responders, veterans, and those who today serve our county and our country. At PNC, we believe our core values and our customer-first approach speak to the unique financial needs of service members and their families. In 2018, PNC was recognized as one of the top military-friendly companies by GI Jobs and as one of the top veteran-friendly companies. Additionally, we were selected in the top 25 military-friendly supplier diversity programs, and that was recognized by the National Association of Veteran-Owned Businesses. In preparing for my remarks today, I talked with Chris Ann Phillips. She is the head of military recruiting at PNC. She is also a Marine Corps veteran with 6 years in active duty. She's also Chief of Staff for PNC's Military Advisory Council, which supports veterans' initiatives to continue to diversify our workplace and strengthen our inclusive culture. She shared with me that to date, PNC has funded 30 medically trained service dogs for veterans, partnering with a woman-owned business in Florida. She's also a firm believer that veterans are an incredible resource for female hiring managers. Statistically, she says that veterans perform, but women too, perform better and stay longer than employees without military backgrounds. If you're looking to hire veterans, she recommends exploring some organizations that have been helpful to PNC's recruiting efforts, including Hiring Our Heroes, Recruit Military, and Military Officer Job Opportunities. This is called MOJO for short, and it's also a woman-owned business. So thank you so much to the Chamber for letting us be part of this today. We're honored to celebrate all of you women heroes who are here today, in person and in spirit. Thank you for making it your life's work to sacrifice and serve.
Thank you, Amber and PNC. Unfortunately, Judge Vogel was not able to be here today. He is in Frankfurt for a very important meeting. But we do have Deputy Judge Executive Kevin Nuss, who will join us at this point. Please welcome Kevin Nuss.
Thank you, David. My remarks will be brief because I know you didn't come here to listen to me. So as David said, Judge Vogel did have to go to a meeting today in Frankfurt that unfortunately could not be rescheduled. So he asked me to pass along his regrets. He enjoys attending this every year. On behalf of Judge Vogel and the magistrates and all the employees of Oldham County Fiscal Court, we appreciate the opportunity to be here today for this Celebration of Women event and to recognize the leadership and the contributions that women in Oldham County and our community have made for us. And as a former first responder, former police officer, I probably stopped David at one time or another somewhere. But as a former first responder, I'm truly excited and looking forward to listening to the comments of our panelists today because of the sacrifices that they have made both for our country and our community to perform the jobs that they perform. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Kevin. As part of our celebration of women each year, we award a woman of distinction in our community. And I would like to invite up to the dais at this point Jane Ashley Pace from the Oldham era to introduce the Tony Cotton Award.
It is an honor to stand up here today and take a moment to remember Tony Cotton. Tony was the publisher of the Oldham era for only a few years, but in that time, he made a big impact on Oldham County, including helping create today's event. The beautiful landscapes that everyone took all this time to create today, that was all Tony's idea. He believed that a newspaper needed to be a vital part of this community, and it is our hope to carry on his vision and commitment in years to come. I know Tony would have loved this year's theme. As a news organization, we often arrive on the scene with first responders and see their bravery firsthand. I'm grateful that we can honor Tony's legacy for creating this event while also recognizing the heroes that keep us safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Jane. This year's 2019 Tony Cotton Award, the Woman of Distinction Award, is being given to Dr. Sue Feely. And Dr. Feely actually was able to have her mother here today, who will turn and celebrate her 94th birthday next week. So thank you for being here. Dr. Feely opened her dental practice in Crestwood in September of 1991 and has provided consistent, high-quality dental care to the Oldham County community for more than 27 years, making her practice one of the oldest continuously operated women-owned businesses in our county. She employs 3 full-time and 3 part-time assistants, hygienists, and receptionists. And while continuing to operate her practice, Sue also served in the United States Army Reserves as a dental officer. She served several deployments, including an overseas deployment to Iraq in 2003. She commanded the 5010th Army Hospital as a reserve commander for 4 years. And upon the completion of that command, Dr. Feely was chosen to command a medical training unit out of San Antonio, Texas for 2 years. She recently retired from the Army Reserves with 23 years of service at the rank of colonel. Dr. Feely also served 2 terms on the Kentucky Board of Dentistry, including 2 successive terms as the board president. Locally, Dr. Feely has been a member of the Oldham County Educational Foundation and the Greenways of Oldham County. She's also a hazmat advisor to the local fire departments and has accepted numerous patient referrals from the Hope Health Clinic. She's a member of the South Oldham Rotary. And while accomplishing all of the above, she's raised 4 children, all of whom graduated from South Oldham High School. Each went on to earn a college degree, and each has served with distinction in the United States military, 2 Army officers and 2 U.S. Marines. Please welcome our 2019 Woman of Distinction, Dr. Sue Feely.
Thank you very much. On behalf of all the women who have served before me, and I know will continue to serve after me, and all of the other members of the armed forces, and those that serve with the emergency response teams, both fire department, law enforcement, I really accept this award. It's just a terrific honor. It's exciting to have my mother here. I started in the Army a long time ago, and it's really kind of interesting story in that I was, I had family members that had served, but unlike many, I didn't follow just because of a father. I followed because I had women that went before me. I remember World War II veterans that were women, and they were officers, and that's unusual in today's world to see female officers from World War II era. My 2 aunts, one was a commander in the U.S. Navy, and the other was a major in the U.S. Army, were both serving on active duty, but they weren't nurses, and that's unusual too. They were actually engineering officers, and in the Navy, she was a personnel officer. That was kind of typical. But what happened to them was really interesting at the end of the war, because women were told to go home. And that was it. You were done. There were some reservists, and my aunt served in the reserves for a very short period. But as soon as she was pregnant, she was done. It was gone. That is very different from today's world. In today's world, women can be pregnant, they can serve, they can continue to serve, just as men, and alongside men. I have 4 children. I have 3 daughters, 2 of whom have served in the Army, 1 who was a Marine Corps officer, and then I have a son who is a first responder, works over at South Oldham, and also is with Louisville Metro. So I have seen the service from all levels, both my children and my parents' generation. And it is such an honor to get this. So thank you so much.
Congratulations, Dr. Feely. Also, we have some first responders in our office that I'd like to acknowledge today. In fact, our Vice President of Economic Development, Sandy Hamilton, has been acknowledged by Business First to be one of the top 20 people in economic development. So thank you, Sandy, for representing our county well. Looking forward to that. And also, in our community, we have a lot of people who do a lot of work that they go above and beyond, and we see that a lot in our community with a lot of the people that work in public service and people that work in our nonprofits. And one of those who is moving on to new things is Karen Eldridge from our Main Street Association. She's been the director of Main Street and a Main Street business operator for a long time. And we have a small gift, which is an engraved brick for Veterans Memorial Park dedicated to Karen that we'd like to give her and acknowledge her for her years of work going above and beyond for the city of LaGrange and our Main Street downtown district. So thank you, Karen. And then, of course, our office manager, Heidi Ockeltree, is the glue that holds our team together. And also, she does this event, and it was her idea to theme this for our first responders. And as a military veteran herself, she just makes a tremendous contribution to our chamber and our community, and we're very thankful for that. In fact, she put a lot of thought into all of the aspects of today's program, including our table back there that is in honor of the fallen soldiers and first responders that we've had in this community and around our country. And so I want to thank her for all of the extra efforts that she puts together. And now invite her up here to do the fun part of the day where we get to go through our Tablescape Awards and give out some fun prizes. So, Heidi Ockeltree.
I'm a little short for this. Can y'all hear me? First of all, I'm not the veteran. My husband's a veteran. I'm just a military spouse. That's what you meant? Okay. Thank you all for coming today. The tablescapes look wonderful. We have some very creative people out here. So we have 4 categories to vote on. The first category is Best Representation of a Business, and our winner is Main Street Boutique. Our second category is Best Representation of the Theme, and that would go to the Oldham County Fiscal Court. Our next category is Most Creative, and that will go to Richwood Nursing and Rehab. And our last category is for People's Choice, and this year's award goes to the Project Guild of LaGrange.
All right, thank you, Heidi. We're going to invite our panel discussion, our panelists to come up here in a moment, but first to do that, to moderate our discussion is our Vice President of Chamber Services and one of our great assets in this community, Miss May Marks. Please welcome May Marks.
Hi, everyone. This is my time of year when I get the microphone. Ladies, if you would like to join us on up here. We're very lucky today to have 3 really impressive women joining us for this conversation. And as they're making their way up, I just want to make sure that the audience understands what it goes into being a panelist with me, which is that my brain starts going of who I know and who everyone else knows, and then these lovely ladies just get a phone call from me that says, hey, I thought of you. And then there's emails and coffees and zinging of text messages and bios and headshots. And it's a lot more than just giving us their hours today. It's a lot of prep. So we really appreciate that because this is the part of the celebration of Women Day where we get to really pull in our economic development visions of the county as well as our community development visions. And so I love this panel as a way of kind of throwing out some interesting questions. But before we start all of that, I would love to just kind of go down the row and hear about what brought you into service for our country, and then how that translated into finding yourself in Louisville. So first we'll have Dr. Sue Feely. I don't know if you know this, but she's a woman of distinction.
Let's see. Well, I went in the service as a way to get money for college. And I actually took a ROTC scholarship when I went to the College of William and Mary in Virginia. And I was commissioned a second lieutenant in what was then called the Women's Army Corps. We were WACs. There was no U.S. Army women. We were separate. And so I actually had a WAC commission, and I was detailed over to the personnel, AG, Adjutant General Corps. I then went on U.S. Public Health Service scholarship to dental school. And the Army was kind enough to allow me to go to Fort Benjamin Harrison, and that's where I met my husband, Tim, who was a finance corps officer, and he had just graduated from college as well. So that was early on. I went ahead, went U.S. Public Health Service, then I served on active duty with the U.S. Public Health Service. I actually branch transferred from the Army over to the Public Health Service, which is allowed. And I served in rural areas with the U.S. Public Health Service. I did that for 4 years. My husband came off out of active duty. He went to law school, graduated from law school, and he ended up being assigned to Fort Knox, Kentucky. And that's how he came to Kentucky. I worked at the Portland Health Center down in the west end of Louisville as a public health service officer. And then after I was there for a year commuting from Fort Knox, I said, if you can't beat them, join them. And I went back on active duty for the Army. So I ended up spending 3 years on active duty at Fort Knox. And we decided we liked Louisville. So we stayed here and we made Oldham County our home.
That's wonderful. And we're so glad to have you. So you've been in Oldham County now?
We have been in Oldham County for over 29 years.
That's, yeah. Around here, it takes about that long before we don't call you a short timer.
Yeah.
So I think you're official. I've been here 32 years, so. So next we have Sergeant Adrienne Ramos. She's representing our first responders on our panel here today. And in addition to serving the Louisville Fire Department, she also serves at our North Oldham Fire Department. And I know that you have an interesting story of how you came to serve in the Air Force and then as a firefighter, correct?
Is this on? Okay.
It is.
First, let me say that I'd rather walk into a burning building than sit here and talk to all you people. It's the truth. So I went into Air Force actually to get away from college. I didn't want to go to college. I wanted to do something else. So I went to Air Force. I was in law enforcement, security police for 4.5 years. And then when I left, I went back to New York. I went to the Bronx, and I was like, you can't have nothing nice around here, you know. My first weekend there, I was like broken into. I was like, this is bull. But anyway, I left there, and I ended up coming to Kentucky. I just got in my truck and left with a friend of mine. And my first job was at Bob Evans. Never worked in a restaurant ever. But I was like, I needed a job, right? So anyway, the way I found myself to be being in the fire service was I worked at Toyota for 10, 11 years, but while I was doing that, I was like, this is garbage, you know, it's the same thing every day. So I volunteered with Middletown and J-Town and PRP, and I was like, this is life, right? Everything's different, every day is different, and so I applied, and I'm actually the oldest female to ever go through drill school. I got on when I was 42 years old in 2009, and 10 years later, here I am, a sergeant with the Louisville Department, and with North Oldham, been there for 3 years, and they're both my 2 extra families, so.
Wonderful.
Thanks.
That's a very interesting story of kind of finding your way through the path.
Yeah.
We like it. And then our third panelist here, Suzanne. Suzanne has known me for quite a while, is definitely someone in my Rolodex, and when I think I need someone who knows a little bit of everything and is a great speaker and someone you can always count on, I think of Suzanne. In addition to the kind of the stuff that's in your panel or in your program, in her bio, she's also one of Louisville's only female venture capital investors and supporters. So anytime we can get Suzanne looking at Oldham County businesses and meeting all of you, that's just icing on the cake. But you've also had a very interesting career that's led you to Louisville. And I think you call Louisville home officially now. But could you kind of walk us through that just for a minute? Sure. Oh, no. Nick's mad at me. He told me lots of ways to do the mics, and I didn't do any of it.
Well, and I hate to admit at this point that I'm an engineer and I didn't know how to turn the mic on, so don't hold that against me. Well, honestly, no one was more surprised than me when I found myself as a senior in college joining the Air Force, because when I was in high school, my high school in New Jersey, Cherry Hill High School, had a junior ROTC department. I've never even considered it. My college, where I went to undergrad, which was Rutgers University, the State University of New Jersey, also had an ROTC unit, and I never even considered it. So you might be saying, well, how in the world did you get in the Air Force then? So I found myself at the end of my junior year. I was studying electrical engineering. This would have been the mid-'80s, so that's how old I am. And I had no idea what I wanted to do with that degree. And so I started looking around, and back then, this was before the big, tech bubble and computers and all that kind of stuff. The companies that were hiring were kind of stodgy old companies like Hewlett-Packard and Texas Instruments, and I thought, I just wanted to do something different. And so, believe it or not, I was reading a magazine, and it probably wasn't Cosmo, because it said, even though I used to read Cosmo, it said, what company would let a 23-year-old be in charge of $60 million worth of radar equipment? Yeah, you remember that? And I'm like, well, I would like to do that. And so at the bottom it said the Air Force. That's who. Call this number to see if you qualify. And I'm like, if I qualify. That to me was a challenge. So I called the number and I took the AFOQT, which was the Air Force Officer Qualification Test, and I must have done all right, because they sent me then to officer training down in Texas, and I became an Air Force officer. And I was stationed out at Edwards Air Force Base in Southern California, working as an avionics flight test engineer on some amazing technologies. I mean, amazing technologies. This was the heyday of aerospace industry and defense spending and everything, and it was just really cool stuff. And so let's see, how did I get from there to here? My career has not been a straight line, that's for sure. It's kind of been zigzagging all over the place. So I ended up going back to school to get my MBA. I went to Cornell to get my MBA. And I ended up in Cincinnati, which is only 100 miles up the road, and no offense to anybody from Cincinnati, but I didn't really care for it. I had been born and raised on the East Coast, spent 13 years working for the Department of the Air Force in Southern California, and I thought, get me back to either coast, because I just didn't care for it. And so a recruiter called and said, we've got this great position for you. They want someone with a tech background. They want someone with a top-tier MBA. They want someone, and I had been working in venture capital at the time. And I said, great, where is it? And they said, Louisville, Kentucky. And I said, oh, God, you got to be kidding me. I had never been here. I had never been to Kentucky, but I didn't want to come. I just knew I didn't want to come. And so, make a long story short, I came down here anyway, thinking it would just be good interview practice. And they connected me with a wonderful realtor. She drove me around for 2 days. And my son and I, he was 8 years old at the time, we ended up moving here, and that was 17 years ago. So I like to say I am the poster child for anybody that's relocating to Kentucky, because now I consider it my home. My son was raised here. He's now 25. And I love Kentucky. I really do.
Thank you. Well, that's quite the title. I like it. Which brings me to the question that we had talked about a little bit, which is when you came to Louisville, you were from, if I remember our coffee correctly, you were working in helping young people find their opportunities for leadership within service in Oldham County schools as well. And Oldham County, we know we're very blessed and lucky to have an exceptional school system and young people who are looking for secondary education opportunities. Could you speak a little bit about any regional organizations or work that we can be a part of as business leaders to make sure that our young people recognize the leadership opportunities that are available in service? Yes.
Okay, yeah, I'd be happy to. As an Air Force reservist, one of my later jobs was working for the United States Air Force Academy, which is in Colorado Springs, Colorado. And I became an admissions liaison officer, and then I actually became the director of training. So I had 1,600 admissions liaison officers working for me across the country. And so I actually worked up here in Oldham County, and if any of you had any graduates over the last, 8 to 10 years from any of the Oldham County schools, you may have seen me at the awards banquet giving out Air Force Academy appointments to the incredibly smart young men and women that graduated from Oldham County high schools. So, like I said, in my high school, we actually had junior ROTC, and my college, we had ROTC, but I didn't know about it. So my request to you all is, thank goodness in this country we have amazing young men and women that actually volunteer to serve their country. Because I can guarantee you if we ever didn't have that pipeline, we would go back to the draft. And it would be both men and women, as it should be, and so I don't know if anybody really wants that. So if you have a son or a daughter or a grandson or a granddaughter or a nephew or a niece that's interested at all in serving their country and being something that's a part of something bigger than themselves, there are some amazing opportunities, educational opportunities by way of ROTC scholarships, and then the service academies, which is what I worked in as a reservist. And by the way, my son went to the Naval Academy. I tried to get him interested in the Air Force Academy, and he just didn't want anything to do with what Mom did, so he graduated from the Naval Academy. But all of our service academies are incredibly, incredibly good schools. I mean, always in the top 5 engineering schools in the country. And it's difficult to get in because they look for young youth with academics, athletics, and leadership. So you can't just have good test scores and a 4.0 GPA. You have to be an athlete, and you also have to be a leader. To dispel one rumor, though, you do not have to know anyone political or contribute to a campaign or be of a certain political party, because while you do need a congressional nomination in order to get into a service academy, it has nothing to do with who your parents voted for or who they contribute to. It's an absolutely fair process, and if anybody's interested, I'd be happy to walk you through that. Thank you.
Wonderful, thank you. And that also ties into some work that Dr. Feely has done. We hear a lot in economic development about the workforce issues that are facing our region, and then we also hear about the incredible leadership skills that people who have served transition out of service with. And being an active reservist, you had experience, Dr. Feely, in holding a full-time position, running a business, running a family, and continuing to be active in your service. Can you share a little bit about that experience, and for our business leaders and owners in the room, talk about how our local workplaces could be supportive of those who also want to remain active in serving in the reserves?
Right, well, that's a really good question. One of my last positions, I was a commander of a unit that worked out of San Antonio, Texas, but I had been working on Homeland Defense issues for quite a while. And I had medical units, and so I had an awful lot of folks that were EMTs, and many of them worked in Louisville and in this area as EMTs and paramedics. And one of the things we had to do was put through a vast training program for them to have expanded duties and expanded training. And that meant they had to go to Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri and other places, and they were going to have to be gone for up to 2 months from their employers. Now, traditionally, most reservists, it's always been 2 weeks a year and 1 weekend a month. But the reality in today's world is that's not enough. We can't do it anymore because there's a continual training regimen that they have to go through, which means that every few years they're going to have to go off to schools for up to 4 to 6 weeks, sometimes longer. And that's how they have to stay, and they bring those skills back to you, but it means that you have to be able to let them go. And you have to create an environment that's supportive of that. And that's very difficult for small employers. It's a little bit bigger. Companies can do that a little bit more. They have other people can step in. I was self-employed. For me, it was a real issue. When I went to Iraq in 2008, I had a single solo practice. Well, what do? You can't leave your patients. That's abandonment. I had to get a fellow that came out of the Air Force, and he came in and stepped in and took my place for basically 4 months. The good thing was I had a wonderful staff, and so I have people that I employ that were able to step up and keep my practice running for me. But every time that I was deployed, and I was deployed 4 times between 2001 and 2008, and every single time I was gone for up to 4 months from my private practice. It's a significant impact financially. Even though I was being paid at the time by the active Army, at the time I was not going to be gaining income from my practice. And so fortunately my husband was able to step in and my staff were able to step in, but I had either an associate or another doctor that came in and helped. So as businesses, I think one of the most important things is to remember that these are people that you want to bring skills back to you. They have tremendous skills and tremendous talents. Many of them work in the military in an area similar to where you work in business because they like and they transfer over, so the skill sets they get through the military are going to transfer over. And they bring things back to you with technologies that you may really appreciate and find that you are benefiting from. But you have to be able to help them and help their families. And that means making it less stressful. There is a unit, a group, that's called the Employer Support of the Reserve and Guard. And I think that that's probably one of the best places to start. I worked with them as a commander for my soldiers when I had to take care of them to see that we could do things with their businesses. There's also a lot of things through Congress. Congress has set up laws. There are rules and regulations that apply to reservists to protect them. But what has happened, and it's a kind of quiet, untold story, is oftentimes when people are interviewing individuals, they like veterans. They want a veteran. They don't want a reservist or a guards person. And they don't say a word in the interview. And many of your reservists and guardsmen will not even volunteer that they are in the reserve or the guard when they're interviewing for jobs. And the reason they don't is because they feel prejudiced against. They feel that you will not hire them. And the reason is because they know that they have to leave you. And so they know that if they were you, they wouldn't hire themselves either. That's their feeling. So I would say that the best thing you can do is hire other, or have at least 1 or 2 that you support and support wholeheartedly. And then the word will get out. You have to make those decisions as a business person of whether you can afford, how much you can afford, how much time you can afford to give off. And we understand with small businesses that's very difficult. But I tell you, you will get it back so much because they will be very dedicated to you if you support them. And we need those people. 90% of your medical strength in today's Army is in the Reserve and Guard.
Wow. Thank you for that. And also, Dr. Feely is a wealth of resources and information. And as members of our chamber, if implementing a process to allow your businesses to hire more active reservists is something that you're interested in, please let me know and I can help connect you to all of those resources and others who've had similar experiences, because we know that the workforce market is competitive, but also one of the great things about Oldham County is how welcoming and nimble and reactionary we can be. So I think our small businesses could really make quite an impact if we banded together and said, we're the community that can support you and can help you find your professional success as well as continuing to serve. Which brings me to Sergeant Ramos, because it took you a little while to find your calling, and then you found it here in Louisville. How can, and Oldham County, North Oldham, Mustang, right here. How can we as residents of Oldham County and families be supportive of our fire departments, our police officers? Are there certain educational opportunities that we could be taking advantage of so that if the worst happens and you do have to respond to a call at our home, we have made it as safe as possible for you to help us?
Okay. Well, the public really needs to be more involved with the fire department, North Oldham for sure that I know of. They have to become more involved. By that I mean like go to their meetings that have every second Thursday of the month, you know, to go meet with us and the board. I bring that up because, you know, of course, we need money. I mean, we are self-sustained. You know, we're good to go for right now. But, you know, as your community grows, we're going to need more firemen, right? Firefighters. I'm not trying to be all politically correct. We need more firemen, right? So that will go back to that, you know, that 1 cent added to your taxes. And I'm not trying to, you know, get you guys in your pocket right now, but, you know, that issue was brought up. And we were trying to get more personnel for the second firehouse that we have. And right now, there's only 2 people there on a 24-hour shift. And really, at a fire, you can't do anything with 2 people. So, and then we have 3 people up at the main station in Goshen. So being involved, coming down, listening to the meetings every second Thursday, just so you know what you have in your backyard and what you can expect, I think that's pretty important. And the other thing is that we do offer CPR classes once a month. You know, you guys can come, and that way you can take care of your own family if we can't get a hold of EMS or some of us, you know, EMTs that are on the trucks in time. You know, you want to be able to take care of your people, you know, as much as you can before these EMS people, you know, get to your house. But I gotta say that you guys do not take advantage of the 911 system like we do in the city. Those people, I stubbed my toe and they're calling 911. You guys are awesome. You call when you're needed, and we appreciate that, you know. We like sleeping at night, and but
Thank you.
anyway, thank you.
That's fantastic. And keep an eye, shameless plug, keep an eye out in your chamber newsletter, because we do at the very bottom in community news share upcoming CPR classes both at Baptist Health and through the fire department. And then in the community events calendar, we list opportunities to attend city council meetings and community meetings where you can make your voices heard on the support that we want to offer everyone who serves our community. There's never enough time to hang out with my cool panel of amazing people. This is really wonderful for our audience to hear the experiences that you've had and the wisdom that you bring to our community. We very much appreciate it. Thank you. I know I don't think it's as scary as running into a burning building, but that's why I do my job and you do yours. But thank you all for being here today. And can we give them a round of applause? And I think I have to give up the mic now. Oh, it's my turn still. Oh, awesome. Okay. If you guys want to hang out, we're going to announce the theme for Celebration of Women 2020. You're welcome to stay on the stage, or you can return. I'm going to stand up for this one.
We'll stay as a team.
So, looking around today, you can see that this is the largest celebration of women yet. There are 285 of you joining us here today, and we had over 20 tables in our tablescape competition, up from, I think, 11 my first year here 3 years ago. So this event is just blowing up. Next year, 2020, is going to be our 10th year of celebration of women. I've also declared 2020 as the year of being extra, because I feel like we've all been Vision 2020, Louisville 2020, everything's hitting next year. So Celebration of Women has to follow along with that. And I believe I have a slide. But next year we will be celebrating Playmakers and Rule Breakers, the unstoppable women of Oldham County. So Who do you know in your community who heard no and thought, I think yes? You know, who was told, as we hear a lot, you know, that's not the way we do it. That's not the way we've always done it. And thought, oh, we're going to be doing it this way now. And it's going to be even better. There's no obstacle too large for the unstoppable women of Oldham County. And next year at Celebration, we want to hear all about it. And we're going to need to figure out how to put an addition onto City Place because we can't fit any more of you in here. And there's going to be many, many more of you. So get all excited, tell all your friends, and call me or Heidi if you have any questions. In addition to our tablescapes, we will have our committee. If you're interested in being on the planning committee, there's always spots available for that. And I mean, we could have these unstoppable women back for the panel, but if you know of someone who has a really extraordinary story along those lines, we would love to hear them. So, are you as excited as me? Okay, I think I'm done now. I'm going to turn it back over to the boss. Thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you, panelists. And thank you, May. I'm going to remove these chairs so our honor guard comes back. And please stay for the remainder. We only have a couple more announcements, and then our honor guard's going to come back and then retire the colors. We have a lot of exciting things going on in our chamber, and again, I want to thank all of you for being here. Thank you to all of our service women and first responders. And you know, we have a lot of help in our office. I want to thank also who's helped with this event. Hannah Hall is here somewhere. Thank you. Hannah's taken some time to spend with us and really helped us in our office quite a bit. That's right. And also Chris Rosa, who's here. She helped us today. Chris in the back, thank you. And we have a new event that's coming up we're pretty excited about. You know, obviously the tablescapes are fun and people really get into the themes. And so this year we're going to try, for the first time, Baptist Hospital LaGrange is going to sponsor our first ever putt-putt competition that will be held at the Oldham County YMCA. That's going to be on May 23rd. And the way this is going to work is your business can sponsor a hole that we're going to be on the soccer fields, and then you're to build the putt-putt hole according to the theme of your business. And then you could also, if you don't want to sponsor a hole, you could have a team of 2 from your business to show up as we have a competition for our businesses to play against each other. So it's kind of like a miniature golf scramble that we can have during a luncheon, and you can get in and out. We'll have snacks, and it'll be a lot of fun. We're going to have prizes for the best outfits. And hopefully we'll have a lot of really creative holes. I think at this point, we've sold 5 holes, so there's still a few available. And so if you're interested in being part of that, we definitely want that. And Heidi, are we good with Honor Guard is on the way over here to retire the colors. Fortunately, I have a lot still left to say. Also, we have one of our new featured speaker series, which is also sponsored by Baptist Health LaGrange. Is called OSED Talks, and we've had a great turnout in response to these, where we try to have some big idea topics where we relate it to our community, but also the bigger business community and even national topics each year. And so our next up-and-coming OSED Talks will be held on Thursday, April 25th, and it will feature a panel discussion on medical marijuana and the hemp industry, which is growing here, no pun intended, which is growing here in Oldham County. On that panel, we will have Dennis Dybel, who is a hemp farmer, a former mayor of Crestwood, as well as Representative Jason Nemes from the Kentucky State Legislature, and Dr. Molly Rutherford, who's around here also, will be speaking on that panel. And we have a new business in Trimble County, which actually farms out of Oldham County to produce CBD oil. They're going to be on that panel as well. They're called Farm CBD. So it should be a really interesting conversation as we have this kind of massive shift that's happening in the industry and in culture across the country, and this discussion hits us here at home as there are definitely strong feelings on all sides about it, but the intention is to have a productive conversation that's informative and helps you kind of be able to weigh in on your ideas on these topics. And then finally, I also want to invite Karen Greenwell is here. She has a giveaway we'd like to give from City Place. I am mobile. And what's the gift? All right, this is a nice gift basket, and it's going to go to Taylor Adams from from Trilogy Health Services. All right. I did not see Taylor, but we have her contact information, so we'll get a hold of her. All right, thank you. Oh, there she is. You got a long way to travel when you got to walk across all these people. That's great. So, that's wonderful. Did you have a good time today? You enjoy it? Also, our All-Star Entertainment, who's got the photo booth in the back. If I mentioned the photo booth, if you haven't had an opportunity to go to the photo booth, you can get that on your way out. There's plenty of funny hats and some really great pictures that we see on there, but you can feel free to share those on social media. And Nick Curcio is also a friend of first responders and our military, and he's offered discounts and said he's always had a discount for military and first responders, so thank you, Nick, for that. And from Oldham County Fiscal Court, Jay McDowell has been running the camera and making sure that we could document these things and put them out on the internet so that we can share them and try to spread the word about all the good things going on in Oldham County. So thank you for that. And still no first responder or for our honor guard yet. Still coming across. They've got a lot of equipment to put on. So that's good. I don't know any jokes that are appropriate for this gathering, I don't think. Trying to figure out what the right thing to do in this moment. It's pretty fun right here to watch me squirm on camera, isn't it? That's good. Let's interview some people. How about we do that? We got Tim O'Day from PNC Bank here. Tim, tell us about the great things going on at PNC.
I don't even know where to start now. Help? I'd rather have some of our guests talk. So, Robin?
My name is Robin Bray, and I have been with PNC, I guess, for my business, which is Bray Electric Services. We have been with PNC for the last 15 years, and I've been to this event at least 4 times. And so Amber is gracious enough to ask me to come back time after time, and I really enjoy it. And I take notes and see how it can fit into my plans going forward. So I really enjoy it.
Thank you. That's fantastic. We have 86 events on the calendar. 86 events? May, you want to tell us about some of the events? That's great. That's great. You want to talk about some of the events?
Sure, it's my show. It's fine. New to Celebration this year, on your way out, be sure to pick up a parting gift from our thank you sponsors. I actually saw these when I was out, and you'll be getting a pink army person and a remembrance poppy. And we ask you to take these home with you and place them somewhere where you will see them. And when you do, to send up a good thought and prayer for our servicemen and women. And thank you to Chris and Hannah for putting all these together yesterday, because they're the best. Coming up, we have OSED talks, we got coffee talk, we got power hour, we have chamber challenge in June, we have golf scramble, we have putt-putt. So I took the golf scramble and just made it tiny. So where in golf scramble we have snack carts, they're a hot commodity sponsorship. At the putt-putt tournament, we're going to have snack wagons. You can decorate like you're in the Oldham County Day Parade. Are we done? Okay.
You know, folks, no, I'm not going to hold you up, and I apologize for the miscommunication with the honor guard, but they're not going to be able to get over here in time. So we'll go ahead and dismiss you. And again, I want to thank you for being here today, and thank you for your support of our chamber. Please have a wonderful rest of the afternoon, and thanks for being here.